that good Tournament Fighters music. We're back live. Slips and Hippo, episode 12. This is officially the longest podcast I've ever been on, so Slips, I'm catching up to you.
What?
So,
yeah.
Yeah.
How many KTPs did we have?
A million?
Did we?
Yeah, it's probably like 30-something.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. As usual, King Hippo.
Slips.
I got a beer with me. Slips has got a monster. We're ready to go. We're ready to party.
Mm-hmm.
Packed show today, so we'll be looking at, we're going to be catching up with each other in a second here, and we're talking about the Kombat Kast that was today, which was had a lot of information on it. And then, of course, the big, juicy part of the show is going to be the MK11 Stress Test. Both Slips and I were in it. We actually got to play each other quite a few games.
Yeah, it was fun.
And we got our impressions, so we'll talk about that. But as usual, we'll start, what have you been up to, Slips, past couple weeks?
Well, I got in a car wreck. That was fun. Yeah, that was great.
Car wreck?
I got T-boned.
Really?
Wasn't my fault. Just punk kid, this pickup truck, just pulled out of McDonald's, just slammed right into me.
Damn.
I couldn't even get a what the bleep out. I was
that quick?
like, what the? It's like, dang, dude.
Damn.
We pulled into the parking lot. He gets out of the truck, like we're in the middle of the road and stuff. Luckily, there wasn't really anyone else around. He's like, "Oh, you okay?" I'm like, "I'm good. Are you okay?" He's like, "Yeah." Did I hit you? I'm like, "Yeah." Like, clearly, look at your bumper. Look at your front bumper versus my driver's side fender. Like, no, I hit you. I did a power drift into your front bumper.
You could have.
Right, I do Mario Kart in real life. So we pulled into the parking lot, and I called the police, because he asked that question. And we exchanged information, got the insurance. He was pretty cool after that. He let me take pictures of the truck. I took pictures of his bumper, and his driver's license, and his insurance, and he was just like, so... And we were just kind of standing there at that point. I was like, this dude seems cool. So I was like, you can go. Called off the cops. Well, yeah, called off the cops. So I've just been dealing with that now. I've been trying to get my car repaired and everything. It was like $4,000 worth of damage.
Damn, that sucks.
Yeah. So I got my rental right now.
That sucks.
Okay. I'd rather have my car. I have my Bluetooth music.
That's not bad.
It's hard to listen to game music when I don't have Bluetooth.
That's true, it is. If you guys don't know, Slips has a YouTube playlist that's quite extensive. Video game music.
I love video game music.
We were talking in the hotel room at the reveal event. He put that on his mood music.
That's my mood music, yeah. It's sad.
It's fun. It's you know what? A fun game
good,
is
though. Like it's good.
You put that music on and you call out the name of the game it's from, and you make a game of it. It's pretty fun.
It's actually really, like, me and my cousin, we drove from St. Louis to Pennsylvania. I might have mentioned that a couple episodes ago.
I think you did, yeah. Mm-hmm.
But that was what we did for the whole 10-hour drive. I put on the playlists, and he was like, "Oh, this song." He was, "Oh," like. Yeah. The Golden Axe, like, arcade song came on. He was like, "Oh my god!" And he was just like, "I used to play this game at the soccer plex with my dad." Like, it's crazy.
Everyone's got a memory.
It's crazy the memories that pop up when you listen to
that
this
music
stuff.
hits. That's when you know business is about to go down.
Right. It's good stuff, man.
I think I added some, and he's taking requests. So PM, if you know good video game music, PM Slips. Throw it on that list.
It's good. Like my rule is it can't be like nostalgic. It's got to be like good, like of melodies and bass lines, and it's got to be. The reason why I like video game music so much is because it's like one person pretty much does it, right? Especially the old stuff, like the retro gaming stuff. It's pretty much like one person coming up with it.
It is, and very limited sound.
Very limited.
Yeah.
So you're really getting a raw fundamentals look at what makes a good, like, sound, like melody, and what makes it catchy, and you get and like the systems were limited to the point where they couldn't really express themselves.
Bleeps and bloops.
So yeah, so all they could really do is just come up with something quick, and I don't know, there's just a simplicity to it, and you hear like melodies and stuff and these types of stuff that you don't normally hear in like pop music or everyday music, or because everything else is just so elaborate and everything.
It's true.
And it's always and how modern day music is, it's all like patterned out. Everyone like, I feel like the Illuminati music industry people, they have all like, the metadata of like the melodies that people like absolutely just like can't control how much they like, and they probably have it on a loop for like every 5 years they come out with this very similar melody to like from this song, or I don't know.
I could see that. Like I know, like
a lot of trends. Like remember the hey, 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 and like every song,
yeah.
Like it would do like the first verse, and then the second verse to really hype it up. They would have the guys in the background, hey, hey, and now we have like that chipmunk sound that's going on. It's like it's like
I think you made that up. I think you made that up.
It's like, yeah, there's always like some weird trend, like soundy background thing. And then there's like the oh yo, like that's like you can look it up. Like there's like certain
all made up, but I don't know.
And like it's just too irresistible to the human ear. It tickles the ear pussies.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right. I mean, yeah.
Video music, I know I'm not being manipulated. I love it. I guess.
I mean, video game music, like, a great one as an example is Link's Awakening, which is the Game Boy Zelda game. Original Game Boy. That game has, like, 2 tracks.
That's like just 2 sounds.
It's 2 tracks, but, like, the one track is remixed a million times by changing the melody, changing the pitch a little bit, and they do amazing stuff with it. Another great story I know is that Yoko Shimomura, who is the great composer for Street Fighter II, she had not worked on video game music before she made that game soundtrack.
That's pretty crazy.
Yeah, she had a background in music for sure, but she had not made a video game soundtrack, so she had to kind of make it up as she went along.
What's interesting to me is I've heard the guy that made the Toho series, the shoot 'em ups, like for like the Maidens or whatever, they were the Toho series was a PC shoot 'em up only game for years. I think it still might be. But the story behind that was the guy, and I don't know if maybe I have to recheck this, but this is what I heard. The guy that made that game, he was supposed to do the music for Street Fighter. And he didn't get the job, and he was so distraught for it. He was just pissed. And so he was like, well, I'm just going to make my own game with my own music. And the easiest game to program and make is a shoot 'em up. And so the Toho series is pretty much that. And it became like a huge shoot 'em up series. There's like, I don't know, like 13 of them or something like that. And they're really good. They're really good. Really good shoot 'em ups, and they have really good music. So it's just like, it's funny how like little disasters like create awesome things.
Oh,
you know?
yeah.
A little disaster for him, obviously.
Yeah,
but,
I mean, yeah, he's bodied, but
and I think everyone benefited from both of it. It's amazing.
And speaking of shmups, big news this week was that Konami rose from the dead and is releasing a couple bundles of anniversary collections of some of their arcade classics, Castlevania, and Contra. So Haunted Castle is one of the arcade ones. If you guys don't know, Haunted Castle is, I believe, just Castlevania 1 for the arcade
version, yeah.
And it sucks. Like it's not good, but it's just mystifying. Like, this is Castlevania 1, but as an arcade with big graphics and stuff, and not nearly as memorable music.
What's a classic thing is, like, you're like walking through his castle, and like in the background there's like kitchen or like table and chairs, and they're like huge.
Yeah.
He's just, Or maybe it's vice versa, and he's huge and they're small. No, I think they're huge and he's super small, and it's just like looks funny and ridiculous.
Also, he has a worse. I don't know if it was possible. He has a worse stance in Haunted Castle than he does like his. He's got Simon has that goofy walk.
The art is not good.
No, it's not. It's not very memorable at all. But it's funny because it's just available for the first. Like I've only played it at GGA. Like I didn't even know it existed until.
It's actually not even called Castlevania.
Yeah, it's called Haunted. I think is it called Castlevania in Japan, or is it still like the Dracula Hunter or whatever?
You mean that version?
That version, yeah.
I don't think it's called Castlevania. I don't know that though.
I got Google. What am I doing?
I could Google it though.
Haunted Castle. It's a side-scrolling platform game. Yes, I know that.
I don't know if it was
an adaptation of the original Castlevania, hence the Japanese title, but was not marketed as part of the series outside of Japan. What, are people not going to figure it out? Like,
right.
Like, literally, the game is literally Castlevania. Like, it couldn't be more clearly Castlevania.
Well, that's kind of like the M. Bison thing. Maybe
true.
They're scared of lawsuits or something. I don't know.
Because Castlevania in Japan is called what? Vampire Hunter? Or
is that what it is? I actually
Vampire
don't know.
Killer. Vampire Killer.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's the name of his whip in America.
It is, yeah. No, wait. Vampire Killer is a game. It's for MSX, which is what Metal Gear is on. I don't know. I think it has a different name in Japan, but
it might. I don't know.
But anyway, so they're releasing the Castlevania 1. The Castlevania 1 has, so far, there's going to be 8 games on it. Castlevania 1, Castlevania 3, which we pumped up a couple episodes ago, Castlevania 2, Belmont's Revenge, which is a little-known Game Boy game, and Super Castlevania 4 for Super Nintendo. So that's already a pretty OD list. Like
I'm super stoked about Castlevania 1, and 3, and well,
all 4 of them.
I guess all 4. But it's like Castlevania 3 is like you can't play that on anything besides emulator and a regular Nintendo.
Yeah,
right?
I've modded my NES Classic to have it, so yeah.
Right, like the NES Classic didn't even have that. They put freaking Simon's Quest on there.
They got that shitter out of there on this one. That's good.
It should have been Dracula's Quest. Or Dracula's Curse.
Yeah.
So yeah, I love the Dracula's Curse is on there.
Now, so the other 4 games would be interesting because I honestly feel like, they put out that collection not too long ago that had Rondo of Blood and Symphony of the Night. So I figured, why would they release it again,
Well, yeah, it's going to be 8 games for the Castlevania series and 8 Contra games.
8 Contra.
Yeah,
so the 4 Contra games I should mention are Contra, Super C, and they are different games, trust me. And Contra 3, the Alien Wars, which is the Super Nintendo one.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, they've released 4 of each, but the other 4 they have not revealed.
They have not, yeah.
Yeah. I initially think Rondo and Symphony for 2 of them, and then my other gut is Bloodlines, which is huge.
Oh yeah, Bloodlines, if you guys don't know, is the only Castlevania game on Genesis.
It is one of the best Castlevania.
It's very good. It's a classic Castlevania, so it's side-scroller.
It's really good. Some of the best Castlevania music came from Bloodlines.
It's
so good.
And, I mean, Contra also has a very good Genesis Contra hardcore, which I hope makes it.
I hope, yeah.
Yeah.
And then the other Castlevania I think might make it in is the Castlevania Adventure that it was a remake of Castlevania. It was a Game Boy game, Castlevania Adventure, and then they did a remake. It was only released on the Wii U. Now the Wii U doesn't even have online access, so now
I think it was a WiiWare game, right? Or WiiWare, I think, right?
Right. So now that game is just lost. So hopefully they gotta release it on this thing.
That would be nice. I mean, I would like to see one of the GBA titles. I think should get, because those are all really good. I'm not a huge fan of the Metroidvanias.
It's their own thing.
Yeah.
I don't actually hope they don't do that because if I play one of them, I want to play them all. Like if they just have Circle of the Moon on there, I'll be like, God, but I want to play Aria of Sorrow now and Harmony of Dissonance and Portrait of Ruin and Order of Ecclesia. Like God, like those deserve their own damn pack. Those are so good.
Yeah, I mean they really do. It's gonna be really weird to be playing like, you can play Castlevania on your PS4, your Xbox, like it's just weird.
that kind of goes back to what I said like a few episodes where I just think some games just nailed it, and then they're just they hit a.
They're timeless. Yeah.
They just hit something that we can't explain that just feels perfect.
Yeah, I mean, if you
weird.
pop up like Super Castlevania 4 and you play that first level where you're walking up to Dracula's castle, and you don't feel something,
so good.
Yeah,
too.
if you don't feel something, there's something wrong with you.
It's like a certain pacing. I don't know what it is. It's like enough to keep your mind engaged, but not slow enough to where you like lose interest too. I don't know. It's really interesting.
They're almost arcade-like, but still slowed down enough to where it's like, yeah, it's weird. I don't know how to explain. They're just mystifying, I guess.
Really weird, yeah. Bloodlines is huge also because that's another one where you can only play that on emulator and a frickin' Sega Genesis. Yep. So being able to play that, well, I mean, it's not announced yet, but if they don't have that, I'm going to be pissed.
We riot, is what happened.
Yeah.
I'll burn Konami down. I mean, I already burned Konami down over, like, Metal Gear Solid 3 Pachinko, but I'll do it again. I don't care.
If they do Rondo of Blood and Symphony, if they aren't doing those two, then maybe Simon's Quest and maybe some other obscure Game Boy game, which I don't know.
Yeah, who knows?
I'd rather just have Rondo and Symphony though.
Gonna be something to look forward to for sure. So some Mortal Kombat happened this week. I don't know. We had the Kombat Kast, as you all know, took place today. I missed the timing. I thought I was right, but then I forgot daylight savings happened, and I'm stupid, so I missed it. I had to watch it as I got home.
Oh, nice.
But we were in for a treat. So it started with Ed Boon was there, and he let people talk about, he talked a lot about the stress test and how, it's very much a game in flux, and we were playing an older version. Things have changed. We had a little demonstration of how dashes changed a little bit.
Yeah, that was great.
And then we moved right into it. So they introduced the trailer that had Kotal Khan and Jackie Briggs. And we got gameplay demonstrations of both from 16-bit as usual and Aaron Davis, a.k.a. Dizzy, who helped design Jackie.
Really?
Yeah, so he talked about that a lot. And then we got gameplay demonstration between Washed Up Warriors, between Steve and Aaron playing Kotal and Jackie, and then we had Tyler and Derek play, and Tyler washed Derek. It was free.
It's kind of weird.
It was.
Usually Derek beats Tyler.
Really? Yeah, it was. So Tyler's now ahead. He's up 3-2. And then they took us out for the week. However, C2E2 is coming up, which is a major comic book convention in Chicago, and the whole NetherRealm team is going to be there, or a lot of them at least. Talk about MK11, and they have quite a few reveals that they said they are planning there. Maybe some new characters, new trailer, maybe some more gameplay details. So that'll be the next thing to look out for. And then that was it. So just, I guess to start off, the first thing we saw was the new dashes. What they might look like in the final build, which they did say those type of dashes would not be in the beta that's coming out next week. But, just looking at Sub-Zero's, that was massively improved.
Yeah, that's really
pretty noticeable difference, yeah.
That's really good to see.
Yeah, so you might be moving a little more light-footed.
Yeah, I think that's needed. It doesn't look like it was cancelable, which is good too, because if it was, that would probably change too much.
Well, I imagine they probably are.
I don't know, it didn't look like it.
Well, they just didn't do it, I think.
Maybe.
So that was pretty brief, but the big news, of course, was we saw Kotal and Jackie for the first time, and they knocked it out of the park again. Big shocker, right? Kotal now, uses his sword and everything, just a hoss, just swinging that sword around, just sawing people.
Yeah,
command grab.
Look pretty interesting.
Yeah, he's got a command grab. A command grab again, and this time he slits your stomach and gurgles the blood, and then throws you it's just metal.
Saws you and tries to saw you in half.
You in half. He's got
I'm sure that'll be a brutality.
He's got the totems that he can stack. They literally stack, which is probably the coolest thing I've ever seen.
That is cool.
Yeah. Looking like Legends of the Hidden Temple out there. For some reason, he can turn into a cat now.
Yeah, how do they explain that?
I don't know. He's magic.
That'll be interesting.
Do you believe in magic? I do.
To an extent, maybe.
All right. Jackie is, I would say, just largely a new character at this point. They kept some of the most, like, minute, maybe, things about her from MKX, but for the most part, it's been completely reworked to a very close-range, mixed martial arts fighter. Including moves like a command grab that's a clinch, where she kind of holds you, and she has a few moves she can do out of it. And if you do all of the enders, it activates a crushing blow on the last one. So that's quite the mind game that you can do, where you do all the clench enders, and now you cannot get hit by the next grabber. It's a huge crushing blow launcher. And also, one of the most unique things I've ever seen, she can combo out of a throw tech. I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah. Dude, she looks awesome.
Yeah. I mean, they really... my hat's off to Dizzy and the rest of the team that worked on her. It's unrecognizable what she used to be like, but the effects on her are great. And, yeah.
I love the Muay Thai stuff.
Muay Thai stuff is great, yeah. Cool. And, like, the canceling...
Yeah, like she does the feints and everything.
Because it's not like canceling like it was in like MKX. It's like literally feints, you know. Like,
right. That is so. It's like she's boxing you.
Yeah.
I love it. And like she has the Superman punch.
Yep. She has.
And then she's got the Muay Thai like side kicks. And yeah, like you said, the clinch. Like
just like mashed like a million times because she got robot legs. That looks hilarious.
Cool, dude.
Yeah.
I like her.
Got a command jump.
Yeah. She looks good. And yeah, the reverse throw is so cool.
And you can tech that reverse throw.
Yeah, that's amazing. What a cool thing. That's just little things like that.
She was definitely, like, you know, I know, and I'll get to this later because I want to talk about it because it was so silly, but a lot of people were talking about how they were worried that there wasn't going to be any complicated characters or something like that. And then you have Jackie just drops like a bomb. And it's like, oh yeah, she's got feints and she's got, you know, a throw tech thing, and she has 3 different projectile types, and you know, it's just all this stuff. It's like, wow, like just drops on you, like, oh wow, that's really something. Even Kodo, like, he's still got the totems, he still has his command grab. He's got that sun move, you know, that's where the sun comes out and it gets him health back. So I mean, they did a really good job, I think, of making. At least Kodo, they kept a lot of what was kind of neat about him in MKX and dropped out like the more generic, like, oh, he does a kick, oh, he does an elbow, and now he's just swinging his sword, you know, like. So that was cool. I mean, they look great.
I love his footsie idea. It's pretty cool. How he's kind of got like a really quick high string that will kind of beat everything.
And then he's got slower, like longer strings. But
right. So like the meta is, the high is going to pretty much beat everything. In order to beat the high, you got to do the low. But if you start throwing out the low, then he can use the long range mids to whiff punish the lows. So it's pretty cool.
And then they mentioned that, you know, he has a good low string, but he doesn't have an overhead starter. And then his fatal blow is actually an overhead. So when he gets fatal blow, he actually has, you know.
That's cool too.
Yeah.
I like how they use the fatal blows to like kind of completely change the aspect of the character. Or not completely, but like they mentioned
a new
Johnny Cage can like do cancels when he's got his fatal blow. And how cool is that? How cool will that be when we see Johnny Cage like, you know, getting blown up, he gets the fatal blow, and then this particular Johnny Cage is just like super sick with cancels and makes like ridiculous comeback with all these cancels, and that is cool to me. I like that.
Yeah, I thought both characters looked extremely cool. You know, Jackie is, you know, I like that she has more of Jax's moves, which was always like a pet peeve of mine. Because, you know, Cassie's got like Johnny's moves and just a little bit of Sonya's moves, right? But Jackie really only had she had a ground pound, I think, in MKX, right?
Mm-hmm.
Something like that. But that was pretty much it. Now it's like she's got the Superman punch, she's got the ground pound.
She just didn't have a lot of, I don't know,
a gotcha grab type thing, you know.
Well, it just felt like the other new, like, you know, the kids, essentially, the kiddies. Like, Cassie, like, she was kind of like the leader. And she had, like, both the sass of Johnny and Sonya. So she was covered. And then, what was the other kids like? Takeda. Like, he was alright. He was cool. Scorpion's, like, adopted son. That's kind of cool. And then, so there's something there, and then, who am I forgetting? Kung Jin, I guess.
Yeah, Kung Jin. Yeah.
That was cool. I mean, he had his own thing too with him being gay with the Shaolin monks and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So he had his own shtick. Jackie was just kind of like, I'm Jax's daughter.
She didn't have
Look at me. I'm Jax's daughter.
She didn't have like Jax moves. Like that was the fucked up part.
Yeah, she just didn't. It was just that was it. That's all I knew about her. And the way was, hey, this is Jax's daughter.
And I think they've done a lot because I think there's a lot of cool new characters in MKX. Like they could be cool, but they just weren't like all there yet. Like for example, Kotal. It only in one variation did he have like used his sword a lot. The other ones he kind of just did moves, and they were like they look cool, but like you had the feeling that there was more there that could be used. And then this game they're like, we'll just give him all those moves and his sword. Mm-hmm. And then go with it. And Cassie's like, okay, let's give her this drone, and that's like her defining characteristic now. She's this drone.
Right.
They did a lot more things like that, which I think are really neat and help to make those characters have a little more, stand out a little bit more. And Jackie, it's like, let's not only give her arms like her father, but she's got legs now that she amplifies.
Mm-hmm.
And we just gave her this identity of being really up close and, a brawler, which is more like Jax again, because, she was like a zoner in MKX, which is, I was like, all right, I guess, why not? But it didn't really feel like, it didn't really have this long lasting identity. And now it's like, wow, well, they really did something here. They gave her a lot of unique mechanics. Which is something like MK does a lot of like universal stuff, and it's not a lot you'll see characters, they have a mechanic that really only they use. So like Jackie is the only character so far, I mean, there may be more, but I doubt it, that it will be able to do something off a throw break. And have the command grab style that she does, that stuff's cool. I think a lot of people were worried that we weren't going to see characters like that, and I kind of felt like it was, we got, in the stress test 3 very vanilla characters.
Very basic, yeah.
Yeah, so I think that may give the wrong impression.
Right.
Because even in playing the reveal build, Raiden, maybe a little bit more vanilla, but like Geras and Sonya were not like, the other character. Like they definitely were doing something else.
Mm-hmm.
So that was, waiting on that. So that was the Kombat Kast. That was pretty fun. Well, I think we're getting another one next week where they said at least a minimum of 2 characters.
Cool.
So the reveals just keep on coming because we're getting pretty close there to about a month left. The beta's coming up this week. Next week.
C2E2 is C2E2. When is that? That's coming Friday.
I think it's this coming Friday.
So we're gonna get more announcements just in a couple days, or I mean, by the time this comes out, like tomorrow or today.
I'm looking.
If you're listening to this now, yeah.
Let's see, C2E2
in Chicago.
Yeah, I've actually been to C2E2.
I have too, actually.
Yeah, it's a good event. I met Chris Claremont there. That was cool.
Nice.
I also met CM Punk. It's this weekend, so yeah.
Wow.
So we're gonna get more information this weekend.
There's probably more information as you're listening to this.
As you're listening, we might actually be we might be breaking news. So
right.
So I guess that's pretty much all I have to say about the Kombat Kast. I think it kind of spoke for itself. If you guys haven't watched, they've got the VODs of it up now, and you can watch the Kotal trailer that also has Jackie in it. So I guess then we get to the meat of kind of what we were going to talk about today, which is absolutely the stress test that happened last weekend that they said was like, oh, it's a select few are going to get invited. Everybody got invited. I remember I woke up Friday morning. I had to be up early for work anyways. I got that email at 7 a.m. I was happier than a pig in shit. I was downloaded immediately, started playing that. Played for probably about an hour before I got to work.
That's pretty happy.
I was happy. So that was on from Friday morning to about like midnight on Sunday. I got a lot of games in. Probably got about 300 games.
Dang. Nice.
Got a decent amount, yeah. I was able to play. I luckily had Saturday off, so I kind of just played mostly all Saturday, and Sunday was just a light day too. So I got to play a lot. And how much did you end up playing? I know we played a set together that was pretty damn long.
That was the most I played was when we played.
Okay.
Friday I had to do a lot of stuff with my car, so I didn't really get to play Friday.
Accident, yeah.
I started playing it like Saturday morning. And so I played the most like in the AM, like early AM. So when I started playing, and Sunday I had to do some stuff with family. But yeah, I mean, I probably played around like 150 to 200 games.
Okay.
I mean, I played a decent amount.
Decent amount. So we have, a little bit of. We played at the reveal event, and I certainly remember a lot from that because you played Scorpion then too, and it was pretty noticeable with stuff that had already changed. So, believe it or not, at the reveal event, Scorpion's and Amplified Teleport was hella safe.
Yeah,
that was absolutely ridiculous. In hindsight, that was insanely dumb. And his back one strings, I think, were all safe, if I can remember correctly. Like, I don't remember being able to get full
I know
punishing
back
on.
143 was, but it's not anymore, yeah. And I think back, they were cancelable, special move cancelable.
They were cancelable too, yeah, because I remember you could do the 3-hit string into teleport.
Right.
Yeah, and did full combo from it. So yeah, so then going into the stress test, it became very apparent, quickly that Scorpion was no longer safe on most of the things that he did. And so that was kind of a shock to come into. And I unfortunately didn't play a lot of Baraka or Scarlet when I was at the reveal event, so I didn't know. I can't really comment on what's changed since then. But 3 pretty basic characters. I don't think there's a lot to those characters in particular. But I would say I split most of my games were with Baraka. But I did play a healthy amount of Scorpion and Scarlet, so I kind of got a feel for all 3. Did you play mostly Scorpion, I take it?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay. So, I guess we'll start. Why don't you talk about Scorpion? Like, what did you think? Not like good, like tier-wise, but like what did it feel like to play as him?
I mean, just the game in general, I was just kind of just feeling that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the game in general just feels really good. Just the emphasis on footsies is there. It's heavy. It's great. It's like there's very little like oppressive like zoning essentially. Like it's just like there might be like at full screen, you might have to block like 1 or 2 projectiles and then bam, you're like the normals are so long and like the characters are so big on the screen. Like, it's just like, bam, like, we're playing footsies after, like, blocking or avoiding 1 or 2 projectiles. And I like that. That's great. And it's super fun. You get a real feel. I mean, that's the best, the footsies are the best part because you really get to feel like what this person's trying to do to you. Are they trying to run away? Do they really like the string? Do they like the jump? Are they a special move person? Like, you get to find out real quick, like, how does this person react when they have the life lead? What does this person do when they have this meter? Like, all that stuff gets told in footsies, and so there's so much of it. It's great. I love it. I had a blast. Scorpion, I mean, he was super punishable. I'm not really caring about how good he is right now, because I'm sure it's not done. But, it was super fun. Like, super fun.
Yeah, so
he's just punishable on everything.
Yeah, literally it's like MK9 again. It's like
I was gonna say that. Like,
it
literally felt like I was playing MK9. Like, I would in order for me to it would get to the point where it's like if you were smart against Scorpion, you just don't throw fireballs, you don't shoot special moves, so you don't get hit by the teleport. And then you just try and play footsies with him. He doesn't really have as good of footsies as like Scarlet or Baraka, so he's just kind of randomly throw out special moves to stop people from walking back, and you just hope that you just did this special move at the exact time that they push the button, and hope that you got him. And then hopefully that's enough to get them to start blocking, and if they start blocking, then you can start playing footsies, and then it's fun. But if they block anything, and you didn't hit confirm very well, you're gonna eat a full combo. Like, it felt just like MK9.
Yeah. And you didn't even have takedown to be saved. Like, you can't do down 1 takedown now.
I mean, you can hit confirm into the Misery Blade, but I just wasn't very good at it yet.
Right,
so.
yeah.
But it was fun. It was super fun.
So on Friday, I got contacted by my old friend Mark Camps, aka Morty Seinfeld.
Oh, wow. That's been a minute.
And he wanted to know, he's like, well, how do you play the game? And I was going to show him, and when I was reflecting on it to him, I said that I felt like this isn't a game where I feel like if you're decent, you're not gonna really find yourself losing to like the dudes just jumping around doing bullshit, right?
Right.
But you could in Injustice and MKX to an extent just because, like jump attacks were so good and you did so much damage for landing a jump in, and sometimes they were hard to jump in, and
you could definitely derp out victories
with the walk
more.
speed, with the bad walk speed in Injustice and how good mobility was in MKX, it was hard really to space yourself on both opposite ends, if that makes sense.
Exactly.
Whereas MK9 is, a mix towards the two, honestly leaning more towards Mortal Kombat of old because Injustice is a next level slowness. I saw Wonder Chef say that he felt that MK11 moved, the walk speeds were as bad as Injustice 1, and I was like, what?
What? No.
You go back and play Injustice 1. It'd tell me they're bad.
There was
like
very little walking.
Pick Harley Quinn and walk and tell me how that felt.
Or Catwoman or Scorpion.
Scorpion.
Right.
Dude, Scorpion, his walk speed was hilarious. So, I felt like it's one of those games like, honestly, there was, I'd play guys who I thought were pretty decent. And then after, just after maybe 6 games or so, I'd really turn the tide, and it's just like, I knew what moves to do, I knew how to take advantage of the moves, and they didn't, or I was outspacing their moves and making the good reads and punishing them for it, and you gotta be better than that, really. And if you're not able to adapt to that, then I'll just win most of the time. Like, and obviously we're gonna get more characters that are a little more silly with mix-ups and stuff like that, obviously, but I do think, for the most part, it seems like you can get to a level where it's like, no, I fucked up. My bad. The mix-ups with these characters aren't as bad. I know that's changing because I remember playing Sub-Zero in the revealed build, and he's got an overhead that was like 17 frames that would full combo, and he had a low string that was like that. Raiden was, something. So that's gonna change, but, it really just kind of felt like, if I was better than the other guy, it would show after a certain point. I might lose a couple games. Like, I'm not saying that doesn't happen because it always will. But after so long, it was just like, no, I would kind of split my game up, and they'd have to change. Because it's like, I do this, you must do this, or you pay. And it's like, okay, well, if you can't change to that, then I'll just keep winning. And that's how it would go for until I played like some really decent players. That was kind of how it would go. Like, when I played against Morty, obviously he had never played the game before, so he was just getting a feel for it. And he was playing Scarlet, or he was playing Baraka, and, I was playing Scarlet, and I would just get used to certain things, and once I did, it was just like, well, he's not catching me. Like, Ford 4, that was really good, and it still is really good, but once I was getting to this point where I was outmaneuvering him, or interrupting it, or flawless blocking it, he really had to make a change, and that was where it was tough, because he didn't know how to play the game as much. So, I felt that was really interesting. That is a very cool way to make the game. I know a lot of people, so one thing I did want to point out that I thought was hilarious. There's been a lot of takes, over Twitter, over 2AM, all this stuff. The one thing I haven't heard about? That goddamn amplification button. I haven't heard
no one cares
about that. You know how big a stink people were making about that?
I know, it was so dumb.
How stupid. I mean, it just goes to show. We're right 100% of the time. Just honestly, we are. We've seen it. That's not even bragging. It's the little thing. Now, there are things to talk about, and I got some complaints. I'll get to those later. But the little things like, the amplification button is going to simplify the game and no one's going to want to play it anymore. It was horseshit. Horseshit. From day one it was. And we knew it.
I said on the last show, I was like, it's completely irrelevant, yeah.
It really is. And sure enough, no one's talking about it. Literally no one is talking about it, so kudos.
I think it's just like, people are just so hungry to play.
Yeah, I guess they just want to talk some shit, which they
just want to talk about the game.
Yeah,
I think that's what it is.
Yeah.
They're just so hyped for it. They just want to talk about the game. It's just like any subject that they can come up with, they're just gonna overanalyze it and it's just passion, really. But
yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
It can be construed
misguided,
as, toxic or whatever, but.
Well, it's just dumb. Like, I think as long as you just point out that it's dumb and move on, like, that's the worst thing you could do is take it seriously.
That's true, yeah.
Yeah. So I think you kind of have to have us out there to be like, okay, these guys are horseshit. They always do this. Don't take it that seriously. It's fine. And everything will work out fine. So yeah, that was the one thing I thought was hilarious. No one's talking about amplifications like it was the second coming of execution, and you weren't going to be able to play, like, people were just going to figure out characters too fast. Haven't heard anything about that. So I thought that was hilarious. Because we called it. So of the characters, so I guess Scorpion was definitely probably your favorite character. You know, I actually had a lot of fun with Baraka, believe it or not.
He looks...
He was that command grab is so fun to do.
Is that the leaping one?
Leaping. So he's a leaping command grab.
Yeah, that thing's cheap.
Super fun to use. I used it constantly. That was all I ever used.
Yeah,
the spines cheap. Move is hilarious.
That stupid command grab. I remember playing you, and it was between that stupid knee kick and that command grab and footsies.
And his overhead looks exactly like the leap.
I didn't even care about the overhead. I was like, I'll eat that all day. Yeah. I was like, just where is this what am I supposed to do about this damn
so
kick?
what I started doing eventually was I would get the spines knocked down and do jump 1 into 1-1 command grab, 1-1-3 finish, or just jump in overhead or jump in sweep.
Right.
And it was like that. You gotta guess a lot right there. Like,
well, what was weird when you were doing that is you were coming in with the jump 1, and then I would do wake up 3 because I figured, okay, it's a jump in.
Right.
But the up 3 was actually losing to it. So I actually had to use up 2 to beat the jump in, which is the opposite. So I guess what it really maybe the verbiage has gotten mixed up or whatever. My understanding at the time was that up 3s just beat jump attacks, and then the up 2s just beat ground attacks, but it's more like...
Well, I think it's the opposite,
actually. Or is it the opposite? Sorry. Oh, yeah, you're right. You're right. It's the opposite. Up 3s beat ground attacks, up 2s beat jump-ins. But I guess what it really is up 3s just beat meaties, and up 2s are just really fast.
Yeah,
and have just good priority, good high hitbox.
But yeah, and it should be noted though that up 2s also don't go like 90 degrees. It's like they kind of hit at an angle, so like you can jump over people.
They're at a 45 degree angle, yeah.
Yeah, so you could make the up 2 miss, but if you were kind of jumping in like a neutral jump or something like that, you could probably tag them. You could probably tag them on wake up. So yeah, that was the counter. So you had to counter with that. But, you know, I also mentioned, you know, when I remember I said this back when I played at the reveal event, and I still feel it's true, is that, you know, in MK9, at least against the top half of the cast, which is what most people were playing against, and in MKX for sure, you would get to a point where it's like, okay, we gotta poke because it's not only the least, you know, the option of, you know, the least riskiest offense, but the threat of armor is so bad that I don't want to commit to a move with more startup, you know?
You're right.
And armor in MKX, there was a lot of safe armor that was, you know, not a full combo starter or anything, but it was super safe. So it was like you didn't have counterplay to that armor. But in this game where there is very little armor, there's some, but there's not a whole lot. You don't have that element of like, oh, well, I can't do anything here, or I have to just kind of walk back and take it. You get to do, like, you would do like Misery Blade on me, and I just start attacking out of it. Mm-hmm. Or, you know, or just try to walk back and you'd down one and you'd miss or something like that. And there was counterplay there. And I think even though the game's a lot simpler than maybe games of the past, because there's that much counterplay involved, because there's not as much armor until Fatal Blows come in, which I'll talk about Fatal Blows later, there wasn't that that issue of I feel like I can't do anything. Or I feel like I can do one thing, I should say. I feel like I can do one thing and it's countered. Or it's uncounterable, I should say.
I think the lack of armor makes it not as read heavy.
That's like, what I mean. Yeah, like it's not. Like you don't feel like you got to go all the way one direction.
If you block something and someone's minus, like you can do your move like it's safe, and they can't really do much about it, and they have to hold that essentially, and then. If they choose to take that opportunity to try and do damage instead of doing, you know, a safe follow-up, that's their prerogative. And then you can try and punish them if they get greedy. Because it's kind of turn-based, and I love that. I love that it's just not just freaking chaos at all times, and, oh, I gotta watch out for, he's got a bar meter, he's negative, but I gotta wait because I don't know what's coming after that because of derp armor and...
Well, yeah, it's like it was turn-based before, too, but it's just dumb.
Right.
Yeah,
Well,
like I didn't want to play
it was
it like
turn-based, but it's not ever really true. It was always like this four-way guess between...
the turn was not as, it was a turn, but also not a turn. Like, you didn't get to take your turn. Like, if they had an armor, like, NRS armor is just dumb. Like, there's no way around it. Like, there's very little counterplay to it most of the time. So,
Right.
You know, when that is a big factor in the game, as it was in MKX, and certainly with, again, the top half of the cast in MK9, that kind of sucked, you know. In MK9, there was also the pokes were so bad. You know, they were punishable on block, barely any hit advantage, all that stuff. In this game, they're not. You know, they're like they were after MK9, and they're good again. So you have both the advantage of good pokes and not armor to play around with. And I feel like that's a lot less limiting, even though if the game's a little more simple. Like, there's not as many strings, sure, but you know, when you feel stagger and stuff like that, you're really only worried about them interrupting you with 1-1, like you're standing 1 or they're down 1. And it's like, well, a duck jab, you know, not the worst thing in the world to take. And then they add, you know, special cancels in there, you know, just to fuck with your blocking timing.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of counterplay there. And I think that's refreshing to play against, even as annoying sometimes as it's like.
I think that's enough.
I do think
that's enough. Like, that's all you need. You don't need even more than that.
No, yeah. Well, and then not only that, you're
complicated enough, even when if it's your turn, and in order to stop them from mashing, you got to do like a quick mid, and then they know that, and then they start blocking, and then they take their turn. It's just, I mean, that's the whole meta. It's like, okay, it's your turn now. What are you going to do with that turn? Are you going to play it safe? If you play it safe, it might be their turn again, and then what are you going to do? Like, that is simple enough. The whole, like, he's got a meter and he's got armor, I don't even want to do anything. That was my mentality. I was like, just get the hell out of here and let's just go back to neutral because this is a quagmire. So I like this. I like this is complicated as enough. I don't need any more damn elements to just throw this whole thing.
And that's all without, you know, mentioning, you know, even like flawless block coming into play, which it will. You know,
right. And then there's that too, because I mean, who knows how good this flawless block thing will be? Like, if you do know someone's pretty safe and they like following up with their safe option all the time on this move that's like somewhat minus on block, and you know the timing and you're really good with the flawless block, then maybe you can make that unpunishable option even more advantageous, or punishable, or even more advantageous for you if you're really good. Like, we don't even know. Like, we don't even know yet. Like, it's crazy. Could be more complicated, man. Who knows? I could go into that.
And that's just, and I really did feel like that was just with these three characters, who I feel like are pretty damn simple.
I thought it was fun, like, when I was playing in Super Rocco, you do, like, you know, the kick knee or whatever. What is it? Ford 4-4. And it, like, I would block it, and I was like, wow. First I was like, wow, you can't punish that, because that would duck jab. And then, like, you would block the duck jab and then counter. And I was like, okay, well, if he's gonna block the duck jab, then I'll throw. But then you started ducking the throw and uppercutting. And I was like, okay, this guessing game sucks for me when I block this. I gotta do something better than a duck jab. So then I started doing forward 3. And then I was like, okay, that's good. That's juicy. I can get a guessing game off forward 3, and then I could start going back off a throw. Like, it was, the evolution of that, just over that course of a few hours, just felt so good.
4-3-4, you could flawless
block. And it didn't feel like it was getting dumber. It felt like it was getting
opening
more
up.
fun.
Yeah, it was opening up. Yeah.
Yeah, like sometimes, like when like you play a fighting game and like, you know, something like this goes on, and you're just like, this is just like, the more you dive into it, the more dumb it starts to feel. But for this, it felt like it was just getting better. So
yeah, and then 4-3-4, I was able to like flawless block in between 4-3 and 4, and I figured that out.
Right, and then I started having to do forward 3 and like
stagger,
throw. Yeah, like that's good stuff. That's no armor. Like, dude, it wasn't just it's derp armor time. And then I roll my eyes because you just derped out that one and didn't want to take a guess. Like,
that's fucking. I mean, it is 3D games. I mean, to me, this is them getting as close as possible to like a 3D fighter. Like, it kind of already
felt like Tekken Tag. Like, that's saying a lot for me to say, but like, the guessing game, the poke guessing game, like felt like Tekken Tag 1.
Because I noticed, like you don't give a shit. Like you barely crouch block. Because my guess is you're like, why? I don't care.
What do you mean crouch block?
Like you don't do it a lot where it's like, I did this negative move and now I hold down back. Because I'm used, if you play Street Fighter and stuff, you're like, I hold down back. You just duck, like full ass duck, and you'll take the poke and you're like, it's a down 4, who cares?
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that was interesting. Then I had to learn how to play around that because I'm like, well, I'm not getting anything off of this. So then I'd go for the harder stuff and you'd counter me, with walk back or something like that. So like I said, it was very, and even though the score was, kind of lopsided, it never really felt like I had to struggle for all those wins. And I'm sure even like, it was fine.
I wasn't.
I don't think you knew the game as much as I did at that point.
You were definitely ahead, yeah. I was just like,
because I was using all the.
It was getting to the point where I was just like, okay, he's doing way more stuff. Like that was I wasn't even doing like wake up rolls or anything.
Yeah, like I didn't see a lot. To be honest, I'll say this: I've been watching a lot of the the vids of the top, the quote unquote top people. Because there are no top players in this game yet, but the people we consider good, right? And the one thing I don't see a whole lot of so far is delay get up, which I don't know if a lot of people know is still in this game. But
when I played you, I did not know that existed,
yeah.
And that really threw me off. I was like, what the hell is going on? I was like, why is my back too? Just completely with. I was like, is it lag? I was like, well, if it was lag, then why am I doing it sooner than he gets up? I was like, what the hell is going on? So yeah, that was a nice surprise.
Well, and then I felt like a dipshit because after I played you, the next day I played Raptor. And he was doing like delayed neutral jump to beat delayed get up. I felt like such an ass.
Oh wow!
Doing it constantly, and I'm like, damn. But then rolls, I didn't see that often. I think because roll is kind of tough because if you don't press the direction right at the same time, you'll get delayed get up when sometimes you don't want to. So I think people sometimes would just not get the timing right. So
there's just each get up option is such a different notation. And it's hard. I just forget which one did what sometimes. Like if you ask me right now what the notation is to do the roll, I don't know offhand.
Just for it's forward or back and stance switch. Just for future reference.
Stance switch. Yeah, that's what's throwing me off. Okay.
Right.
I knew it was forward or back. I just couldn't remember the button.
Yeah.
But the wake ups. I don't know. I had a hard time waking up for a little while. I don't know.
I think like the first day, maybe it was a little bit, but after that, I got it pretty consistent.
You were good with it?
When I needed it, I got it, yeah. I would not to say I'm perfect. Like, I'd fuck up a few times, but.
Some of those quick knockdowns, it's hard to get sometimes.
Well, so, the other thing I'm noticing, and that I hope people start to recognize it, because I posted this little thing of Scarlet, something I figured out playing Morty, that Gun Show actually retweeted and was like, yeah, I've been doing this is really good. So you know how 2-1-2 is her big knock-up sword string?
Mm-hmm.
And most people end that in the move where it pulls you closer and it gets her health back.
Mm-hmm.
But because of, breakaway, that can get punishable. So what I was starting to do was 2-1-2, 2-1-2, forward 4 blood ball, the slow blood ball. And because this game doesn't have tech roll like the older games had, where you can just tech roll backwards as you're getting up. Mm-hmm. So when you do meaty setups, you now get to can you imagine, it's like every combo video's dream, or tech video's dream is like, oh, we don't have to consider tech roll unless they have bar, and even then, it's not nearly the same as it was before. So if a character doesn't have, bar when they get knocked down, they aren't going to be able to do, anything but delayed get up.
Mm-hmm.
So you get to do your full ass meaty stuff, and with Scarlet you do slow blood ball on their wake up, and then they wake up into it, and now you're super plus, and you get to do a move, and it's usually an uninterrupted. So I think people probably need, and that's why I started doing spines into jumping on you, because you didn't tech roll ever. You learned how to wake. Right. You learned how to wake up, but I could just keep doing that jump one because I knew it hit you. Yeah, because you couldn't tech roll, you'd only have to delay get up, and even then, delay get up, I still get my offense.
Right.
So I think people will start realizing that you can run more Oki than you might have been able to before. So we've gushed a lot about this game.
Right.
Let's talk some gripes. What gripes do you have? Let's be fair.
I mean, I didn't really have it's like the gripes that I had. I think they're addressing the dash looks a lot better. Like, I don't want to feel like playing MK9 Scorpion, so when they showed the dash today, that was pretty reassuring. So that was fine. So I think that's addressed. I think the breakaway is probably everyone's biggest concern.
Yeah.
Because I think we're just really used to flashy NRS combos. Like, NRS combos, at least in my opinion, are pretty cool looking.
They are.
And these combos are already just kind of like, launch them, maybe get a recapture, maybe a few hits and then a recapture and then another hit and knock down, like a Scorpion type thing. And they're a lot more basic. And then when you add the breakaway, it's like combos are just like, almost like they're just not what anyone's used to. It just depends on how much you actually care about these flashy combos.
So I think that's a little bit of it. I do understand the concern of like sometimes you really will get a punish for doing the breakaway. And I know a lot of people kind of it sticks in their craw. Like, I did the move and they break away and it's like I have to think about it all the time. And like, so to me, I'm of two minds on that. Like the Sonic complaint is like, well, I bested you, so why can't I do this combo? And like the thing about like Sonic and a lot of top players of his ilk kind of think of is that anything that makes it so that I don't rape you 100% of the time is bad. Because, they think they're really fucking good. And there's no reason not to. I'm not blowing them up for that. But that's kind of the mindset, right? Like, well, I did the thing and I won, so why don't you fucking die? Fair enough, right? Like, he's now like, oh, well, I never liked breakers to begin with, because they promote trashy play or whatever. And it's like, okay, well, that doesn't exist. Trashy, quote unquote trashy play. It's like, in fact, I just watched your video the other day from Evo 2007 where you're like, I feel insecure, I said, because I mash like a scrub most of the time, but people think I'm good. Which is, by the way, I played this guy. It's totally true.
I was being a troll, though.
Oh, were you? Okay.
Yeah, I want people to think I'm bad.
I see. But you do mash, like, let's be serious.
Well, yeah, it's a fighting game.
Exactly. Well, my point is that I think a lot of times, like, it's more of like, I'm really, really good. Why don't I get rewarded 100% of the time? And it's like, well, that's just not how it works, There's got to be avenues of, escape. On the other hand, I do see the point that breakaway is now. I did the math, so a lot of people were saying there's breakaway happens way too often, right? And that you get it all the time, and you always have to think about it. So I did the math, right? So, pull my whiteboard up. It takes 18 in-game seconds for one defensive bar to refill, right?
Okay. So
that means when you do a breakaway, you got 36 in-game seconds before you get another one. And each round is 90 seconds. Okay. So, unless you're doing it immediately at the start of the round, you'd probably, you'd have to do it immediately at the start of the round to get at least two. But you're definitely going to get at least one a round, for sure. But to me, that sounds kind of like breaker. Like, how often would you see a breaker in MKX? I felt like it was pretty frequent. At least once a round. Something like that. Especially with first hit bonus,
Okay.
So, I don't know if I quite see the point that, because the idea is that defensive bar comes back too fast, and that's why breakaway is too good. But, like I said, if you can get max 2 a round, and that's only if you did it, right at the start, not counting all the other reasons why you'd want to use defensive bar, I don't know if defensive bar is the problem here. That could just be me. I don't know. What do you think?
My issue isn't that it happens too often. It's just the fact that you can punish someone for doing a combo, I think is the bigger issue for me. The fact that I do my spear and then someone breaks away and then I eat a full combo after. It feels like this is the thing with this mechanic is so there's obviously combos that are going to be breakaway safe, right?
Right.
like I remember I watched you and Raptor play, and he was doing like 4-3-1-1-2 with Scorpion.
He would,
and like
he was pretty hip to that kind of thing, I would say.
Yeah, so like I was like, okay, so if everyone has that, then that's fine. I mean, like I said before, like the combos won't be that flashy, but that will be the end game, is doing combos that are breakaway friendly. And then the meta will be, does this person want to waste all their defensive bar because this person's always doing breakaway friendly combos, and then they suddenly stop doing it, and then does that person get greedy the next time, and maybe that Scorpion player throws in a spear because he's conditioned that person to not use their breakaway. So if everyone's got that type of thing, then I don't have a problem with that. I don't care about glamorous combos. The simpler the combos,
yeah, I mean, I don't really care either.
Fine with me.
And
so
it
that's
really
the
only
case,
felt,
and I'm good with it.
It really only felt like too, like Baraka was doing like mad damage.
Yeah,
but like Scarlet, not really. Like she was doing okay, pretty good damage, and then Scorpion was doing pretty good damage. But like, I could have done 50%, but I missed it. Like, nah, that wasn't happening.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, if it gets to the point where if people don't have those, or if people's like combos where they can't settle, or where they have to settle for their breakaway friendly combo, and it's just significantly less than their normal B&B, and it's just, I mean, I don't know. The breakaway is super in question right now. I feel like if everything's like I saw with what Raptor was doing with you, then that might be fine. But if it's not like that, then that kind of sucks. Because then it'll be like KI, right? That's how I feel like. Because then the guessing game is, okay, you launched them. Do you get extra greedy and go for like max damage? But if they have 2 defensive bars, it could be your ass. And then you can do your, and if you don't go for it and you suspect a breakaway, and then you wait for the breakaway and you try and like punish them for it, they might know that you know that now, and then they go ahead and land, and they're ready for their wake up 2 or 3 when you try and pressure them, and then that's just like, and those are going to do damage too. So it's just like it's almost the person that's in the air might have the advantage, because that might be the end game. So that's what I think the biggest concern is with breakaway.
I could see that. I will say the main difference I think between KI, because I played a lot of KI for a while, and you don't take damage from unless you do a counter breaker, but that was like
right.
The next level read.
KI, when you guess wrong when you do in your combo, you don't take damage, you just get knocked down. But
right.
This game, it might be you take a full combo, or you might take up to.
But then on
the
other hand of that is that you didn't lose resources for going for breakering. In KI, you don't. It's free.
Right.
So it's like, there's checks and balances, sort of. My one take about it was, I think, hearkening back to how Breaker worked in previous MK games, especially MKX, I think it should take everything. So that's both defensive bars, both offensive bars.
I think that would be fine, because then you would see less of them too.
Well,
because you would see 2 more offensive bars.
Exactly. Yeah. You would see less of them, but also, if you dropped out of a combo, you don't have bars to launch.
That's
so it's
true
like you might get a string, right? But like
you won't get a full double meter combo.
Yeah.
Into a fatal blow.
Into a fatal blow, right?
For going for your game-winning combo.
Yeah. So that I think that could be a decent solution, or they could make it like another one that is pretty interesting is that to meter burn. To amplify interactables, that takes 1 offensive bar and both defensive bars.
Really?
And so they can make it like that too, where you might get a little bit of damage, but you won't get the full ass thing. So there's a lot of options they could do with it. Like I said, it's an interesting mechanic.
It looks cool. Like it makes I do like it better as design aspect than a breaker. Like I agree with Sonic Fox on that.
It also should be noted that, and this is kind of a hard-ass read, but you can Fatal Blow the recovery of a breakaway, and that beats it. Because Fatal Blows beat armor. So,
That's a hell of a read, yeah.
That's what I said. It's a hell of a read, but you can do it.
But yeah, I hope we kind of get some... I don't know. I hope we get some idea of how that... Well, I guess in the beta we can try and explore it a little bit more, but it's a concern.
I would say another thing. So Fatal Blow. So all the NRS games have had horrible supers. Horrible. Either bar was too good to use, but they were also just badly designed. When you go for super in most games, the idea is that you get intangibility of some sort, whether it be armor or invincibility, at the cost of your ass, and huge damage. And that's fine. But with X-rays and now Fatal Blows, and supers even in Injustice, they've always wanted to make them like super safe. Some are even like plus.
Mm-hmm.
And when you didn't see them as often, it wasn't that big a deal. Probably like it was annoying, but it was like, all right, well, whatever. But now that supers are going to be a big factor in the game and they're really good, I think they need to start looking at the risk reward of them and being like, okay, maybe this is a little bit fucked up.
Yeah, I think what's around like. I like that thing.
I do like the 30% thing. I like Tekken 7's style. I do like that it goes away. There's been some things that I think are positive steps, like it going away after using it once. I think that's good. And I also think that them not having armor from frame 1 is good.
Yeah.
So those are positive steps. But I do think it might be too strong an option to leave completely safe.
Mm-hmm.
So that might be something to look into. Ed actually mentioned that by name on the Kombat Cast, which I thought was interesting. So maybe, yeah, but I definitely think, and since they come back too, that's the other thing. If they're blocked, they come back. So it's like you get the double whammy of like it's safe and I'm going to get it back. And we also, now I should mention too, we know that the timing for when a Fatal Blow comes back is not the same as it is right now. It's like 4 or 5 seconds now. And when you see Steve and some other people play, it's definitely longer. So, and the thing about the stress test is that it's a snapshot in time, right?
Right.
It's a random build that they had. It's not necessarily accurate to what is, currently up to date. So we don't really know, but it is worth talking about.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely think that was something that, especially as an endgame option, it's very good. And so maybe making it 100% safe is not a great idea. Great idea.
Mm-hmm.
You also see them an awful lot. So, if you're one of the people that gets sick of animations, oh God. Yeah, not the game for you.
Mm-hmm.
And then the one thing I guess also we should probably touch on that's been a pretty of a hot topic is flawless block. So that hasn't, unless you watch the very tippy top players and some other people I've noticed, flawless block didn't come up a lot. But it is very good. I know when I was playing you, I was starting to get a hold of it. I could do it between.
I didn't even know what the hell that was. I was like, what the hell is he doing?
And I don't know if I showed you too, like, I put a setup on YouTube where I was playing this Baraka player who was, pretty good at doing like he's doing back 2 versus 4-4-4. And I kind of got it to where I could flawless block either the second hit of 4-4-4 or the back 2 on reaction. The back 2 on reaction because it's slower. 4-4-4 I couldn't do on reaction, but I could kind of guess it and punish him for it. And so the thing about flawless block, so it is very similar to Just Defend from Garu Mark of the Wolves, which if you never played that game, basically what it does, it kind of takes chip away if you guard at the right time. It's also in a lot of anime games. It takes chip away if you guard at the right time. Sometimes grants you increased frame advantage. I think in MK11 at least, I don't think you actually get better frames on a block string. I think it's mainly on projectiles. Because I never felt like, I flawless blocked Baraka's 4-4-4, now I can punish him. Like, I don't think that's how it works.
No?
I think it's just that you can go into up 2 or up 3. And also not take chip. And sometimes pushback too. Like, if one example is forward 2, 1+2 with Baraka, which is that, or forward 2, 1-2, which is where he does the claw swipe one way and then another way, and he does it with both.
Mm-hmm.
So that string's plus on block, barely, and it has pushback. But if you flawless block it, he does not push you back. So it's like, he might lose a little bit of frames and like, you can counterattack him after that instead, if you don't have meter to do something. But, a lot of people a little concerned. So one thing I should point out, it was been debunked that you can't actually option selected by mashing block. Like, that's not actually a thing. I know a lot of people were talking about that, but that's not, it was confirmed by Disney that you can't actually do that.
Mm-hmm.
Because it goes into cooldown if you block and you haven't flawless blocked anything. Which is how it worked in Soul Calibur 5, which is the only other similar game that had a just defend type mechanic. And, it goes into a cooldown period after you hit block and nothing happens. So, that definitely means that you can't, like, mash it. Now, so I don't know, did you ever play Soul Calibur 5?
Very briefly.
Okay, so I played it a decent amount, and I know that in that game, people didn't like the just defend in that game because it was like, so in that game, and obviously there's no specifics for the MK11 version, so don't quote me on like any frames, but I just know Soul Calibur 5. If you hit guard within 4 frames, you would get a 6-frame window where you would just guard. And in Soul Calibur 5, just guard removed all block stun. So something like a single A from a character became punishable, by super.
It's wild.
And so there was some characters, they would have a meter burn attack, a brave edge attack, where it's like Astaroth. He does shoulder, he does barge into another barge, and it's like you could just defend the second barge because you knew it was coming. And it was his ass. Now, it never became a huge thing in top level play, but in certain characters you could easily fuck with it. So a lot of people, you can see a lot of people are gun shy about the one in this one because, in a game with strings and gaps, it's not as easy as it is in like a 2D game where the offense is not as like predictable.
Mm-hmm.
But, one thing to note, and again, another thing that Disney noted is that he said that the window to be able to flawless block a string is also that you have to be able to fatal blow armor through it. And we know fatal blow armor is not instant.
Mm-hmm.
So, unlike, so Soul Calibur 5, which is a game, because it's a 3D game, there's kind of gaps everywhere, right? But most of the time you can't do anything about it. Soul Calibur 5 didn't care about the frame data, you could always just defend. And that was what sucked. Anything with even like a slight gap became, a thing you could just defend through. And so, in this game, it doesn't seem like this. It's going to be certain strings for sure, but it's like stuff you could, maybe tighten up here and there. And if you've ever had like I'd say the pleasure, it's not pleasurable, it's actually super frustrating. But if you've ever played like Injustice 1, like without any patches uploaded, it's just the raw ass vanilla version where it's insane. One thing you'll notice is that there's gaps everywhere. And you just assume, that, you've done some playtesting there. That's the kind of stuff they tighten up right before release.
Right, yeah. Block stun is one of the last things.
Yeah, block, frames and frames and gaps and moves. So, it may not be that there's a bunch of gaps in characters' move list. There's gonna be some probably. Like, for example, Scorpion 212, that was a plus on block string, I don't know how much, but you could tell it was. And there was a noticeable gap in there that you could at least down one and through. Mm-hmm. So naturally you'd be able to flawless block it. But I really do think what they mean more for it to do is like I could have done this against Raptor. So Raptor was really good about back one for Misery Blade, and he started to cancel it down one to beat my high attack. So I started walking back and whiff punching his down one. Then it got to the meta of where he would do that and then walk back one immediately again to beat my slower move coming out. But I could have flawless blocked, in theory, right?
Mm-hmm.
The back one coming if I knew it and hit him out of it. So, I guess then the idea is that too much of a reward for a flawless block, the up two into like a decent combo? And
if you make a hard read, shit.
And it costs bar, it's not like it's free. Because that's the other thing about Just Defend in Soul Calibur 5, it's free. There's no cost to it. There's really little risk too because you have to press guard so fast that by the time a slower move is coming out, you're already pressing guard again. There's actually a video of Eris doing it where he's stepping in between doing it and you can't even see guard come out. So, it's not like that in MK11. I've tried it. So, it's really depending on whether or not you think getting the up 2 out of it is too much of a reward. Takes 2 bars from each meter. I know Sonic has suggested just being able to do the up 3 out of it, which is frame advantage and some damage, good damage, but then it's just frame advantage. And that might be I could see that being a decent alternative. I don't think that's the worst thing in the world. But I also kind of like the up 2 of just man, that was a smart play and he punished him hard for it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. The up 2 makes it look like they were really ready for it.
I have never felt Like, I had a bigger dick than when I did a forward 4-4 and I flawless blocked and up-2'd somebody.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I was like, God damn, you know? But, I don't know. It's tough to say. It's a really good mechanic. I'm glad it's in the game. But I think maybe if there's like a ton of gaps in characters, that's not it. Like, for example, Scorpion's like his low string into the overhead into the kick had like a gap between every hit.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, okay, that sucks. Like, and I'm sure that's something that will not be in the final, you know, or even if it is, it might be just tighten it to one. But if that's the kind, I don't think there's going to be like this nightmare scenario of where you're easily flawless blocking someone's like, because also it's just as easy to stagger and they don't do anything.
Mm-hmm.
And then you just, okay, we're back to playing the guessing game again. Because you can't option select it truly because there's a cooldown time before you can get another one. So I felt like that might be a little too much. Like, that's people feeling themselves a little bit too much. But I could see why you might think that the reward for it is a little too good. But it's so early that I don't know if I'm willing to have like a really solid opinion on it.
I didn't mess with it at all. I didn't even try it.
I see.
So, I'll refrain from having an opinion.
I see.
I don't know how hard it is. I don't know if you can mash it. I don't know. It just seems it's like it's a little too early to really say.
It might be. I mean, it was 3 days.
I mean, we'll have a beta to come out. We can mess around with it then too.
And there'll be more characters so we can see if there's more, you know.
Right.
Yeah. A wider field of, you know. I still think it's a good idea to have it. Maybe tweak the reward. I don't know. Like, it's tough to say, but I definitely like
it's good to have because it's going to take skill. Like, it's going to take some nuanced skill, and I think the game's probably going to need that.
Well, I think that's also a good point, too. Like, I don't think any random goober is just going to be like, oh, I flawless blocked you for 30% every time. You know, it's not going to happen. It didn't even happen in Soul Calibur. Like, it did to certain characters because they were a little more simple, but it didn't happen, like, at a highest possible level against the best characters.
I mean, Sonic Fox can do it, and that's great, but that's Sonic Fox. Was everyone doing it?
I mean, because it wasn't particularly hard against some of them. Like, for example, a Scarlet had forward 3, down 4, which I think, or maybe it was just forward 3, I think was the string she had. That was a fairly easy one to do.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like, another one is Scorpion's 2-1-2 or Baraka's forward 2-1-2. Those are fairly easy to do. So, a lot of people were doing it in the gaps and block strings, but they weren't doing it like the way, like I talked about doing it on like Baraka's back 2 and his forward 4-4 at a certain range, because you knew that was the only thing that could hit. I think that's what it was intended to do.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it's like we're going to get the final game and there's just gaps everywhere that you're supposed to take advantage of by flawless blocking. Like, I don't think that's going to be a thing. So I guess that's my final opinion, is that I don't think there's going to be as many gaps as people think. And it is going to be more of a hard read. And if it's a really hard read, you know, like a parry in Street Fighter 3, right?
Right. That's what I'm thinking.
And parry was also, like, it was more option selectable than this is, because that was emotion. You know, that was just emotion. You could hide it in certain things.
Right.
And Garu, you can do the same thing a little bit, because it's emotion. It's not, you don't have to hold a button. So, I don't know. It's tough to say. I do like its inclusion. Like I said, I think it makes it skillful, and I think skillful defensive mechanics are a cool thing to have. Mm-hmm. So, I don't know. It's tough to say, but some people were griping about how good down 2s were.
What?
That's horseshit to me. Like, they're good, no doubt. Because they push back a lot, and they have the crushing blow attached to it. And
what?
Mortal
Kombat.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't really...
It's down 2 city. This is where down 2 came from.
Like I said, I didn't think it was as big a deal as...
It's supposed to be good.
And it's real, like, that crushing blow, if you land that and they don't got breakaway, you're deleting life.
The uppercuts are supposed to be awesome in Mortal Kombat. They haven't been awesome. They haven't been this awesome probably since Mortal Kombat 2. They've been toned down for decades. Mm-hmm. I'd love to have a good uppercut again. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, I don't, like, I know a lot of people, like, are really mad about, like, you know, you play a player that just mashes down one, down pokes a lot, and, like, sometimes you're not timing your mids fast enough to beat their pokes, so it's annoying. But, like, I'd play, like, Raptor or something like that, and he was good at it. Like, he would hit down one and do back one, and I wasn't gonna... And now I was playing Scarlet, who's slower, to be fair. But I wasn't interrupting. I tried.
I didn't have any problems with it.
Well, you would whiff punish my down twos, because I'd do it all the time. And
Yeah,
you'd be like, I'm out of here. Like,
if you know they're gonna match, whether it's unless they got a super long down two, but I was playing against Baraka. He's got one of the better ones.
Yeah, and you were just kind of like...
I still was walking out of range.
Or you just raw-ass duck, too.
Yeah.
Like I said, that because down twos are a high.
Right.
Yeah, now if you are crouch blocking, they do hit you, and you can't punish most of them. But to me, that's less of a problem. Like, I don't think any game is that unsafe down twos ever. They were
unsafe in Mortal Kombat X.
Not a lot of them.
I know mine was.
We play Scorpion.
Yeah. Punishable and everything.
But, like, what I mean is, like, I think now it's because the reward is better, for one, you get the one crushing blow. And so people feel like it's bullshit. But, like, when you put it in...
Uppercuts are the most damaging moves in Mortal Kombat. It's always been that way. That was one of the best things about the original Mortal Kombat. Is uppercut. Oh, excellent. Shao Kahn in the background, like, damn. Like, no, that's Stan. Whoever doesn't like down twos is stupid. Get the hell out of here. Keep them the same.
Well, I felt like this was a similar complaint. Maybe not about down twos so much, but like rapid fire pokes. Like, how, like, Foxy hates down poking a special, like, he thinks it's an abomination against God. I, to this day, I'm like, I don't know why.
That's funny.
Yeah, but, like, that's one of those things where, like, players have these pet peeves again where it's like, well, I did this, and I should be able to do this.
Like, there's so many games where that's, like, normal.
Well, I think, I don't think people, like, they come from a 2D background, and some of them don't play, like, Tekken. Because I feel like ones that have a background in Tekken don't care about that.
That's Street Fighter. You can cancel anything into a special.
Well, I'm not talking about canceling into specials. I'm talking about like doing low pokes. Low risk, low reward, low pokes against highs.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'd imagine, a lot of newbies into the 3D world, they don't use highs because they're like, well, you could duck those with a crouching attack, and it's like, well, that's still you got to use them.
Highs are typically fast.
They're fast, yeah. They're fast, and
they're usually fast, and they usually be ranged moves because they're fast. And
you had that tweet that kind of blew up where it was like, "Here's what footsies are."
Yeah, that was really weird and random.
Yeah, that blew up.
That got like over 600 likes. I was like,
600 likes. Fuck, man, what have I been doing?
That was really random. I guess it was just like, wow, I guess that's how it is. People.
But for the folks, if you were listening, you're not one of the 600 that liked it. What was the point of your little?
It was funny because I was the reason I made that tweet is I was watching Sonic Fox's vid on explaining footsies. And it was like him and Samij, and they're like painfully going over all these scenarios, and it was like over an hour long. I was like, holy shit. I was like, it's not that complicated.
Yeah, I hate when like it's like 9 hours long footsie. Like, it doesn't need to be 9 hours.
Yeah, so that's why I made that tweet. I was like, this is all you need to know about footsies. It was arranged moves beat spacing. 2, spacing beats speed, fast moves, and then 3, fast moves beats ranged moves. And so it's always a paper, rock, scissors with footsies. It's like if you're having trouble trying to get in on a really fast move, then you got to rely on your spacing and whiff punish it. If you're really having a hard time with a really long ranged move, well, depending on the distance, of course. Like if you're further out, obviously you can outspace it. But if it's close, you should be able to do a fast move, and your fast, like jab, duck, jab. Mm-hmm. Your fast moves will be that. And then, what was the other scenario that I'm forgetting right now? And the other is fast moves. Well, I can't remember. I'm like losing track of my own brain at the moment. But yeah, like it's always that three-way guessing game. And and if you're having trouble with someone's, doing a really good job, that's what it is. If someone's really spacing you out and whiff punishing you, like your fast moves, then you do your long range moves. So that's kind of the thing. It's like that's it. It's a three-way. Mm-hmm. It's a three-way guess between footsies, between your speed and your space. It's between your spacing. The fast moves that are tough to get in on, you got to outspace them, and then the long range moves are the things that beat spacing, and the shimmying and all that stuff. Mm. That's it.
I thought it was funny because I follow a bunch of different games, and one of the guys who is a Guilty Gear kind of lord, his name's Machabu. He won like 2016 Evo Guilty Gear Xrd. He's known as like a lord in anime, right? And he wrote up like this big not a big document, but he wrote up this little document about how he kind of plays Guilty Gear in his head. And I think he's Japanese. And he was using the Japanese terms. And he said, this is how you learn the neutral game. Use this three structure. And there's three terms. It's Okiwaza, Atiwaza, and Sashikaishi. Okiwaza is a move that you preemptively make, aka range move.
Oh, long range move, mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Atiwaza means doing a move that will hit waiting opponents. So that's like spacing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's okay. So Akiwaza is because it covers a certain space or because it wins against certain moves. Atiwaza is to dash in and do a low hitting move. So that's like a quick move, right?
Okay.
And then Sashikaishi, it means waiting for the opponent to make a move and reacting to it, which is spacing, right?
Right.
So he literally is saying the same fucking thing you just said.
Right.
And he's an anime lord.
Lord.
The point we're trying to make is it all circles back around. Like, it's all the same shit, right?
Right. It's not that complicated.
It's really not. But I think people, like, yes, there are very specific things you can add, and because MK11 has specific things, you are going to have to account for those. But at the heart of it, you can still play it the same way. And it's not like, down twos are fucking too good now. And it's like, well, no, those lose to spacing, It's the same shit.
I can't. I've been dealing with down twos.
It was also super fucked up. You were the only person that did this. Like Raptor didn't do this to me. Is you would try to beat ranged moves with teleport.
Yeah, that's an old.
Yeah, that's an old trick.
Strat, yeah.
But fuck it works, right?
Yeah, that's just like a hard read.
Yeah,
it's like that's like a. What is it? What do they call it? A fuck neutral move?
Fuck neutral, yeah. Well, I also heard that move is now problematic, which I was like, problematic? Like it.
Huh?
Yeah, like one of these geeks, like the people who always make a fuss about everything and they turn into a big fucking drama, was like, oh, Scorpion's teleport's too fast. Hang on, I'm explaining. It's the Scorpion's teleport's too fast, and it's fuck neutral, and like it's bullshit, right? And it's like, well, I could understand that if it was, Injustice 1 and it was super safe, but it's not. In fact, it's fucking super punishable. Like, you could actually wait on the first...
You punish it like almost every time!
You could literally wait on the first hit and wait for the amplifier to come out, see that it does it, and go, oh, alright, I can punish now. Like, it does, it's a good reward on hit, for sure. But it's balanced out, If it was safe, like it was in the reveal build, and I thought that was horseshit, then that's another story. I believed it then. But now it's like, how is that like horseshit?
You punished it like whether I meter burned it or enhanced it or not.
Oh yeah, like I did against Raptor too. Like it wasn't happening.
It was terrible. It was terrible.
It wasn't happening. Yeah.
I was like, God, this sucks. I'm left to just get in footsie range and just throw out teleport.
The reality is, and you know what the reality is. The reality is no one likes to teleport. Because it's annoying, right? Like you're instantly on the other side.
It's just annoying. It's so annoying being a Scorpion player, hearing this shit. Because it's like, oh, his teleport, it's a fuck neutral move. It's just like, how many characters have fuck neutral moves that just happen to not be a teleport? It's just like, just because it's a teleport, like, and it fucks neutral doesn't mean other characters don't have fuck neutral moves and that they also launch. and they also are like super fast or have hella priority.
Well, I also and I don't know if this
just
is
because it doubles in the fact that it beats projectiles. It's just like, oh, it's out of control. It's just it's just a really good special move.
That's what I mean. Like, I don't know if it's my background in playing games where special moves are fucking nuts. But the teleport is not like the worst thing. This version of the teleport is not the worst I've ever dealt with, by and large. And I've never people were saying like Scarlet's Blood Ball is too good. And it's like, yeah, it's annoying that like you want to stand up and then you do and you still get hit by it. And also that it kind of guarantees tongue. But is that the worst thing in the world? Is it worth it's got to go? You've literally been talking about that on KTP since the Injustice days of the quote unquote it's got to go mentality where it's just no, it doesn't. Fuck off.
I gotta pick a different character.
Do you?
It's annoying.
Someone gave you that advice at the reveal, and I think it was fucking me, where I was like, you have the disadvantage of playing a character who's been able to be playing since day one. Everyone's already complaining about him, and he's the most played character by far.
Yeah.
It's a curse, man.
Yeah.
You gotta play like Gearus or something.
It's getting old. It's getting old. We'll see what other characters come out.
Yeah, maybe you're a Kodal guy. Who knew?
Yeah, maybe. Dude, Jackie looks cool.
Yeah, Jackie, come on.
Dude, Muay Thai?
Yeah.
Dude.
You're not Carl. You can play a girl character, right?
I can do whatever I want.
That's right. Fucking right. So that was the stress test in general. I do think there was a bit of some doom and glooming where it was like, all right, that's a little too much. But there's some general, I think Flawless Block may be troublesome, and I do think Fatal Blow and Breakaway probably could take a second look. But other than that, I was like, I think it's really good. I had the same feeling I had at the reveal event, which is that I felt it was a breath of fresh air. It was something different. And I think it played really well. I think it is not going to be the game, and it might scare off, younger players who may face someone who's really good at doing the three moves we talked about, the three areas of how to beat moves, and it's going to be really daunting to beat someone as an advanced player, but
I think it's the opposite of that. I think it'll actually show people how to be good.
Well, but that's the nice thing about these kind of games is that's
it's like the game, there's so little bullshit you can get away with now. You can't just derp your way with armor now in crazy offense in MKX. I play against players in MKX and I wasn't even that good at that game, but I would be able to get some games here and there just because the offense was just crazy.
Well, and you can derp in this game, but the thing is, the derp is it's a really good spacing move, and it's well, okay, that's not the worst thing in the world, it's just annoying, right? Baraka's forward 4-4, it's super annoying. But it's not the worst thing, it's not like it's an overhead low that leads to half your life. It's just really annoying and good. And simple to do.
Right, and then in Injustice you could kind of derp out with all the zone. You could pick a matchup where it was just someone could derp out and you could lose to someone that's
and the problem with Injustice is you couldn't move fast enough to really to beat the you couldn't do a lot of the spacing to beat moves. It wasn't as easy because mobility is so bad.
Yeah, so in this game, all that shit that you could kind of get away with and steal wins and troll people with and derp out victories on, a lot of that shit fat is cut out, and we're getting straight away to footsies and who's better at understanding this type of stuff.
And I don't
either
care.
It's sink or swim, and I think the people that really enjoy it, I'm hoping it really introduces why fighting games is fun. And I'm hoping newbies won't get discouraged; they'll get encouraged.
Well, I think, like you said, it does do those three avenues of how to beat moves very well.
Right.
It's very highlighted in the game's kind of fundamental design, which I didn't feel that, there's certain games where I feel like it's just going to be polarizing, right? I like Injustice, but it's polarizing.
It was super fun trying to figure out how to beat that forward 4-4 when I first started. First, I was just getting destroyed by it. I was
spamming.
What the hell is going on?
Spamming it. Yeah.
And I started inching my way in, then I would jump back, and I would hope you would throw it out, and then I would be able to jump kick teleport. But then you really weren't doing it, and then I would jump back, but then I'd lose all the ground I just made, and I was like, God, this can't be a good solution. So then I started throwing out the down fours, and then that, like, sparked an idea in my head. I was like, wait a minute, I could do down four into the stance. And then, like, so then that was going to beat down your forward four. So then eventually, like, your forward four, like, wasn't as big of an issue. But at the beginning of our set, that was issue number one. And then by the end of the set, I was, like, looking forward to dealing with it.
Well, and it's, because it's still good, but it's not like, okay,
not
I lose to this, yeah.
Yeah, like, fast moves and spacing and...
Even, like, my command grab, you started to understand that, like, okay, I gotta let go of block.
Yeah, at first I didn't...
Yeah.
What the... I was like, is that just unblockable? Yeah. I was like, what the hell is this?
Yeah.
Right.
And even then, and it's like, and there are certain moves where if you make the right read, you get the big reward. Like with Crushing Blow, where like Scorpion does forward 3-4, and it's like, well, you can special cancel the end of it.
Right.
And so it's like, you will get a once around, really good whiff punish. You get the big damage for it. So that's cool too. I don't care if Mix-Up's really good on knockdown. It's weird when they're like super good. Like in MKX at the beginning, the classic example I would use is Kotal's sword. His overhead sword that was armored.
Was amazing, yeah.
It was armored overhead sword that like what the fuck, man?
That's gotta be one of the best special moves I've ever seen.
Yeah, what was I supposed to do? Like
block, bro.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. So, and like I think in MKX they kind of toned down on it, but the problem at first was that everybody's best ranged move was their 50-50 move.
Right.
For a while, and that kind of sucked.
Right.
So there's less of that. Now, like I said, you're going to see characters like Sub-Zero, like Geras, like Sonya, like Raiden, who do have really good guessing games on knockdown. And maybe that's when, like, the thought of, breakaway, well, they read the breakaway and now I'm knocked down, I can't do anything, right? Then it might be really scary to face like a 50-50 character, right? Mm-hmm. Like Kano or something like that, right? Yeah. So, who knows, Maybe with different characters who aren't as vanilla, whose offense isn't like insane. Like, Baraka, Scarlet, and Scorpion didn't really have insane offense. Like, Scorpion might have had the most layered one because of his Misery Blade.
Right.
But he didn't really have, crazy high-low mix-ups. Like, Misery Blade had mix-ups, but they were super punishable and kind of reactable. Mm-hmm. Kind of. I won't say totally, but a little bit. So, maybe when we get characters with more offense, like, I know Cabal has a very simple 50-50 built in if he gets the low hook on one of his custom variations. So, maybe that will be like, oh man, I don't really want to do breakaway and lose to that or something like that. Who knows? Mm-hmm. So really happy with the stress test. I played the shit out of it.
It was fun.
I uploaded a bunch of videos to my YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/KingHippo42. Some games with Slips, some games with Red Raptor, some games with Baraka Player, all using the different characters. I had some on Twitter. I had some videos uploaded as well, so you can take a look at those. And there's just a ton of footage out there. So if you want to look at stress test stuff, the world's your oyster, man. Go out and look. I guess the one thing we didn't really talk about is that you could customize variations, and we still aren't. They hinted that is going to be answered this weekend. Of how that's going to play out, in the final build.
C2E2, it sounds like.
Yeah, that's what I mean, like this weekend. So
yeah.
I had fun playing around with the variations. I could see that there is definitely like, okay, Misery Blade for Scorpion really did seem like the best thing, right?
Right.
I like the chain thing. Like when I played Scorpion, I used the chain thing. I thought that was fun.
Right.
But I definitely
might use that. I think Misery Blade and the chain might be the two best.
Well, the chain costs two, so you have to pick one or the other.
Oh, damn.
That's what I mean. Yeah. So it's like, but some people would use, like Raptor used the Demon Dash as his other special.
Yeah, I had the Demon Dash, and then like by the end of it, I was just like, I don't know why I'm using this.
Some people like the Fireball. He had a traditional Fireball he could hit.
Yeah, I might go with Fireball next time.
The Flame Breath, there's a couple different options he had for that last one that could, maybe make a difference.
This replay was definitely a staple, though.
Like Baraka, like a lot of people went for Baraka. He had one of his two bars was Gutted, which is the special where he launches you. And he'd get a ton of damage. But for me personally, I felt like Baraka's thing isn't he's going to open you up for damage, right? Like you could block him for the most, so you could block him for the most part. to me, like, okay, he might whiff punish with forward 4 on occasion or something like that, but really, he's not going to open you up for big damage. He's just going to hit little hits over time. It's just really annoying. So that's why I went with the command grab, because it's like, well, now I have an actual mix-up option you got to think about. I don't think I would have taken the spines move, even though I thought that was really good in certain situations. Like, you could not jump on that move.
Right.
Or even barely move fucking forward. But, losing Chop, which is what happens when you include some special moves, you might lose another special move. So, like, you lose Chop, which I think is a really good combo ender. So, I might go with that one where he has a low special where he stabs you in the leg and it does damage over time. Maybe that and the command grab I could see as being a really good combination, but it was interesting to play around with.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was fun.
I looked at, like, the fake teleport. And
Fake teleport, yeah.
it was alright.
Yeah.
And then, I looked at the air normal, but it's only on a neutral jump, so that was disappointing.
A literal neutral jump punch, yeah.
Yeah, it was kind of mad, though. But, yeah, it was definitely a Misery Blade, and then maybe one of those other specials.
Yeah, I've heard some people say that they think that if you do custom variations, people are just automatically going to pick the best one, and that's going to be it. And it's like, well, I think that's kind of the risk you run. Like, I don't know if that's like the worst thing in the world. Like,
it's like that in almost every game that has this type of stuff.
Yes, like in CBS 2, most of the time, no one's going to use like, oh, I'm going to use P groove out of nowhere. Like, no, you're going to use fucking A groove, and maybe in some situations use K groove or something, right?
That's the thing. It's just like, even if it does turn out like that, like, who cares?
Yeah, I mean that's not the worst thing in the world.
It's the option. I'd rather have the option of, maybe.
Yeah.
Like,
well, the other thing is all that stuff can be tweaked too. So it's like, the game might come out.
Right.
And maybe some of this stuff is kind of weak, doesn't make much of an impression. But would it be easier to tweak the moves and then be able to choose those moves that might be better, or just like, well, we'll just that variation just kind of sucks. There's not much you can do about it.
Tough to say.
Yeah, it's tough. Yeah. Well, I guess we'll find out. So.
Right.
I think that really about does it. This was a longer episode than usual, but I think we had a lot to talk about. So definitely looking forward to this weekend C2E2 where they're going to have. I don't know what day it is. It might be Saturday. They have it up on Twitter. You can look up what date the NetherRealm panel is, and I'm sure tons of footage is going to come from there. Next weekend is another beta, and they said tomorrow they're announcing the characters that will be in the beta, and it is obviously more than 3.
Wow.
So we'll figure out who's in the beta.
Sweet.
That will run for roughly the same amount of time. It's actually extended, I think, one extra day. Like, I think it starts Thursday of next week going into Sunday. So you get a little bit more time. That is available to anyone who pre-ordered. This is not an invite one.
That's like next week?
That's next week.
That's great. Okay.
Yeah. And then, obviously, the game comes out in April 28th, so get ready for that. I guess the other thing I didn't talk about, the one thing I didn't talk about was the short hop, which I actually used quite a bit, so I do, like, when I was playing at the reveal, I was complaining to everyone that, like, I don't think that thing's very good. I use it a lot, so, my bad. I think it's kind of useful.
I look okay, but,
yeah. If you don't have an overhead, I mean, that's, it's an overhead.
Yeah, you can do some weird stuff with that, I bet.
Yeah. Well, if someone like delays get up and you do a short hop, it's less commit than a neutral jump sometimes,
Mm-hmm.
Who knows? Looking forward to the Konami collections coming out. Hopefully, let's cross our fingers for Castlevania Bloodlines. Let's cross our fingers for Contra Hardcore.
Did you know?
What's that?
Bloodlines. Did you know Bram Stoker's Dracula is part of the storyline in Castlevania?
I would hope so.
I mean, like, it's canon in the Castlevania universe. Like, Bram Stoker's Dracula is part of it.
It's Bram Stoker.
What?
It's Bram
Stoker. Bram?
No.
Well, whatever.
No one says that.
I say Bram. B-R-A-M. Sometimes it's like that.
I continue.
Anyway, yeah, it's, so you remember in Bram Stoker's Dracula, where they had Quincy Morris, the Texan with the big knife?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You may or may not remember that. But that was like one of the characters in the show, or in the movie, and he ends up being the one that like takes his big Bowie knife and stabs
a Bowie knife.
It's a Bowie knife.
It's a Bowie. Like, God, your pronunciation is the lowest fucking tier.
Stabs him, Dracula right in the heart and slits his throat. And so Quincy Morris in the movie is pretty much credited with slaying Dracula in that movie. And then Bloodlines is his son, is John Morris. And he's like wielding the whip, the vampire whip and everything. Mm-hmm. And this is during the time where the vampire whip, or the vampire killer, or the whip.
Vampire killer, yes.
The vampire killer, where the Belmonts can't use it because Richter screwed everything up, essentially.
That's right.
Shaft, got Richter to taint the power of the whip, essentially, and so they couldn't use it. So after that is when Order of Ecclesia comes in, Circle of the Moon, all the games where you're not a Belmont, you're not using a whip. And then, so that's what Bloodlines is with John Morris, and then Portrait of Ruin is with his son, Jonathan Morris, and he's the one that actually restores the power to the whip, and and he returns the whip to the Belmonts, and that's where you get the later Castlevanias like Aria of Sorrow, Dawn of Sorrow, where the Belmonts have the whip again. It's the lore of that series is so good, it's so cool. I don't even know how they can claim that. Couldn't Brahm, just be like...
He's fucking dead!
Couldn't he be like, hey, you can't claim that. I want Castlevania royalties if you're going to claim that as part of your
You do know that Bram Stoker couldn't be more fucking dead, right?
Well, his great-great-granddaughter, Brahmy Stoker...
There's no Brahmy Stoker.
Brahmy Stoker can be like, yo, let me get some of that money. Fascinating. I think it's just fascinating that they actually incorporate Bram Stoker's Dracula into their games. That is super cool to me.
You also know that, Dracula's public domain, right?
Is he?
Yeah.
I guess he is, yeah.
Really? Okay, so if you don't know...
But it specifically says Bram Stoker's Dracula.
My point is that Bram Stoker, his name is Bram Stoker, fuck you. He didn't do U.S. copyright law, and U.S. copyright law is beyond fucked up. That's why Disney stuff never goes into public domains, because it's so fucked up. He never actually did some of the stuff you're supposed to do. So the character of Dracula is in public domain. Universal Studios owns the Bela Lugosi parts of it. Mm-hmm. With the cape and, that kind of shit.
I see.
You can use the character of Dracula or Bram Stoker's Dracula as a thing, and it's not like you gotta pay royalties or anything.
Oh, really? Okay. Alright, I was just asking questions.
Fucking blow up, man.
Alright, shit, damn. Thanks for informing me.
Hey, you're welcome. Well, fucking Wallachia or whatever it's called.
Wallachia?
Yeah, that's in Castlevania.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So that was a Castlevania lore minute. Castlevania's a great series. If you've never played it, please do. I think we're going to go out with some Castlevania music, actually.
That's great.
Yeah, so I got nothing else to say. I think that's pretty much going to wrap it up.
Wait, what are you going out with? Song?
I don't know. What song should we go out with? I'll do anything.
God, there's so many.
I did go out, so last time we went out, I did go out with Castlevania 3 First Level.
Did you really?
I did, yeah. You go back and listen, yeah.
Damn. That's a great song.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I'm thinking we might do Simon's theme from Castlevania 4.
That's a good one. There is one in particular in Bloodlines that just makes my toes curl. I'm just like, this song. I
think, to me, one of the absolute standouts.
Aquarius, I think is what it's called.
If you play Richter's opening theme from Rondo of Blood, you get hype, you just do.
Dude, Rondo of Blood is out of
control. You're like, oh fuck, man, vampire killer.
Oh my god, that game is ridiculous.
And he's riding in on that carriage.
God, that game is I'm playing through Symphony of the Night now. I'm an idiot. I'm an idiot.
Oh man.
I think I downplayed it a little too much. Game.
I still downplay it. Well, and most importantly, when you play Symphony of the Night, you play for Die, monster! You don't belong in this world.
Yeah.
It was not by my hand that I'm once again given flesh. It's called here by humans who wish to pay me tribute. That's what we're supposed to follow.
That's true.
Damn it.
Oh, you mean... Damn, the exact...
Tribute? You steal men's souls and make them your slaves. Perhaps the same could be said of all religions. Your words are as empty as your soul. Mankind ill needs a savior such as you. What is a man? A miserable little pile of secrets. But enough talk. Have at you. I mean, it's the most iconic opening of any game.
That's so good.
The voice acting is so fucking bad and good at the same time.
Right.
I mean, if you played Rondo of Blood, you saw some bad fucking...
Oh, wow. Rondo of Blood's voice acting is unbelievably bad.
They have
bad.
They have these goofy anime cuts. Like, Rondo of Blood, for some reason, is hella anime.
Right.
So, like, there are these cutscenes and, like, you meet Maria Renard, who's, like, literally a little girl. And he's like, oh, aren't you cute? And she's like, no, I'm a monster hunter. And he's like, oh, that's cute. Like,
he's like, run along.
Yeah, you just leave all this to the big bad vampire. She's like, you don't know anything. And he laughs at her like, ha ha ha. He just goes and gets bodied by death. Like,
and she's busted in that game.
She is, yeah. That's the fucked up part. He doubted and he was foolish.
Yeah. She does take more damage than him, though. Some spots he is better than her, but most of the time she's the best.
Don't worry. In Symphony of the Night, they age her way the hell up. It's fine.
Right.
Yeah. Her voice acting's still bad, though. Sorry.
Yeah.
So I think that's going to do it for this show. A lot of Castlevania talk. So if you love Castlevania, you've picked the right program. Mortal Kombat, I don't not so much, but
right.
Castlevania, this is the
Castlevania podcast.
We're gonna go out to Simon's theme here.
I'll take.
And so we'll see you again in a couple weeks. We're gonna have a lot more to talk about with the beta. I'm sure there'll be more takes. Maybe some things will be different. Maybe we'll look into it. Who knows? We're gonna have a lot more information about the game because it's C2E2 and more Kombat Kast. So look forward to that. Other than that, Slips, you got anything?
Nope.
All right, so we'll take it out. As always, this is King Hippo.
This is Slips.
We'll see you next time.
Peace.